Hello, my fellow comic book collectors. This is going to be another Wednesday's Q&A session, and it should be a good one because before doing this video, I took a poll on my community channel. So if you look at the tabs when you view my channel profile, you can see that there's a community tab, and 40 of you went there and checked out my community tab and voted in my poll. So I basically asked, what kind of videos do you guys want to see more of, I should say? And I was really worried because, like, my channel every so often, like, it kind of dips, when you don't get as much visitors and you don't get as many views. And I want to keep it lively. I want to keep it exciting. I want to keep things fresh. I want to make sure that the videos that I play for you are something that you really enjoy. I want to make sure that you guys are happy. I was worried that I was doing too many unboxing videos because I do order a lot of stuff. And I was worried that, maybe it gets a little bit boring, gets a little repetitive. So I wanted to shake things up and kind of find out what it is that you're interested in watching. So here were the options. So more comic reviews, unboxing videos, artist spotlights, modern comic specs, and top 10 lists. So, so the winner of all those polling was unboxing videos. 55% of you like the unboxing videos that I seem to do a lot of. So I thought that was kind of interesting. The one that did the worst was modern comic specs. I don't really talk much about modern comic specs. Every so often I'll do a collaboration video with Dave Collects Ya, and he's really great, and we do some modern specs, and I mix in some Golden Age specs in there as well. But I guess most of you are more interested in the older stuff. So I do a lot of Golden Age unboxings, so maybe that's kind of the thing. And what I'd like to do is also do more videos where I, give some feedback, commentary, I guess. Maybe talk about what you should be looking for in Golden Age comics or Silver Age comics or even modern comics. And so I'm thinking of doing more of those as well. But since unboxing videos kind of won out on my poll, in this Q&A video, I'm going to end with a special unboxing. So there's a box kind of behind me that I will open up at the end of this video. So stay tuned for that. This might be a long video because there's a bunch of questions to answer, and we'll get into it. We'll answer all the questions. So the first comes from Comic Book Ninja. And just so you know, if you comment at the bottom of this video, I am going to give your channel a shout out. So this is a way to get a little bit of free attention to your channel. So keep that in mind. Ask me a question below. As I said, Comic Book Ninja, he asked, I love all your new comics on the wall. So last Q&A video, I basically was showing the new wall behind me and showing some of the comics. You can see some of them just behind me. There's some pretty cool ones back there. And he asks, you should change it up more often to showcase some of your incredible collection. Question, do you like to collect foreign editions of Marvel and DC titles? Many have strange covers, or different covers with new art from local artists. For example, Strange Comics, which are French editions of Marvel comics, or Marvilla, which is a Spanish language edition of Wonder Woman. Now, actually, I do not collect foreign issues of Marvel or DC. However, with that being said, I do collect foreign issues of Warren magazines. That's the big thing I used to collect. I used to really get into collecting Warren magazines, and then I ended up getting them all. I just got them all. So that collection is done. It's kind of one of those collections. So Warren kind of ran from 1958 all the way to 1983. So I pretty much have that entire collection. So I was going out beyond the American collection and getting a lot of these foreign ones. And I still have a few foreign issues that I'm looking for, but very few. Actually, I got most of the foreign issues too. So I'm going to show you some of my foreign Warren magazines. So I'm going to show you right now. So I'm going to bring them over. Oh, so there's a big stack I'm going to show you. And the first I'm going to show you is some really beautiful. I love these foreign ones because they had different covers than the original comics, and they sometimes had even different stories, and some were very loosely associated to Warren, very loosely. And a good example of that is the Mexican ones. So this is Mexican Vampirella. Now, if you know Vampirella, she doesn't have red hair. She does not have red hair. But the Mexican Vampirella did. And this is, Mexican Vampirella #1. It's just a really great cover. I just think it's so sexy and just so vibrant. I just love the red hair, actually. It looks really great. So I've always been a little bit partial to redheads anyway. So I thought that was a good one. And here's another one of the Mexican Vampirellas. It's another great cover. These ones are really rare, hard to find. I've only seen them a few times, and every time I see them, I pick them up. So this is a great Mexican Vampirella. Okay, so and then we got some, I believe this is I'm not sure where this is from. I am going to guess somewhere. I have no idea. I'm just trying to remember where this is from. If you know, this is Crypta, which is similar to Eerie magazines. And this is actually a cover that was reused from the original series, the original Eerie series. And these usually came out like 3 or 4 years later than the American editions. And this is a really great cover with Dracula on it. And I see that it's like kroners. So I want to say, like, that it's related to that, but I don't know. The language looks like Spanish to me. So so yeah, I'm not so sure about that. So yeah, this is Crypta, and it might be Italian. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm just trying to remember. It's been a while since I collected these. So it's been 20 years since I got these ones. So I kind of forget sometimes. But yeah, this is just a really great comic. This is #1. I had the whole series of Crypta. There's like a whole bunch, and most of them are really tiny. They're much smaller than the regular magazines, so almost like a comic size. So that was kind of interesting about Crypta. Another one, and this one is Spanish. No, sorry, I believe this is. I'm just reading the language. I believe this is Italian, actually. This is Das Negro, and I can read it. So I can either read Italian or Spanish. I'm not sure if it's Spanish. It's so it looks like Spanish, actually. So Das Negro, Spanish, kind of like creepy, but Spanish. And they had different covers. They had really cool covers, just really great artwork. So I really like these. I really enjoy these, even though you can't read them. I have flipped through them because I thought they were cool. And the content is basically the same. It's usually the reprints of stories that were featured in Creepy or Eerie. And it's just kind of cool. I just really like these covers. And I'll show you another Dossier Negro. It's just another great cover with the trees like kind of possessed and attacking them and stuff. I think that's just wonderful. Okay, and I have like the complete collection of Dossier Negro as well. I just happen to have lots of comics. Then we got some French ones. This is a French Vampirella, and this is like a Frazetta cover. One of my favorite Frazetta covers. There's a bunch that I really like that were featured on Vampirella. So a question that's later is about my favorite Frazetta cover. And this just is one of them. I like a lot of his sexy women covers. So this kind of meets that mold. This is Vampirella #3 from France. And the French editions of Vampirella were kind of nice. They had kind of a much more thick cover, and they were much hardier look. They're just really, really nice. They're much better than the American editions. They just had a really kind of thick, almost like vinyl or like very thick covers. Very nice. And they were much thicker in general Then we got Australian ones. Australian ones were basically very similar to the American ones. So this is Vampirella number 15. They had the same covers, so it was kind of cool. But different ordering of the series, so it was kind of different. Then we got another one from Spain, I believe. This is Vampirella again. With a nice. This is the same as the American cover, so it's a nice one as well. And the company was Crypta as well. So it's Crypta that also produced the comic called Crypta. So it's kind of weird. And this is just another really great cover. So yeah, another Spanish one. And then we got another Italian one. This is an Italian one. This is a creepy. Just a nice creepy cover. And then we got some more Italian ones. Zombie. And this is I gotta bag some of these. I realized I never bagged them, but this is Zombie number 1, and this is another one that was kind of the Italian version of Creepy, so it's kind of cool. And if you look inside, they were always much more sexual than the American editions. I have to be a little careful flipping through, but you can see there's like Corbin art. And some really famous artists were in. And they would also sneak in some local artists and local stories. So there would be a mix. It wouldn't be just the Warren reprints. They would have other stuff that they would mix in, which was always kind of cool. And then we got, I believe this is Swedish. This is Gru, which is, I think, the same as Eerie. So this is Gru from, and Gru number 9. And this is from Sweden. So you get like a lot of these different editions. And I'll show you another Gru. This is actually a really famous cover for Eerie. And it's the same number, actually. The same numbering as the one. Just so you know, if you find Eerie 17, it's actually a very rare issue of Eerie. So this is kind of the Swedish version of that rare cover. So this is kind of a cool one. So another 4-in-1. And then I'm going to show you a bunch. I'm going to show you one more Italian one. This is a Italian, very thick. You can see how thick it is. Vampirella. And this is just these are all quite rare. It's hard to find these 4-in-1s. And then I'm going to show you my Spanish Vampirella collection. And the Spanish ones came from a company known as Garbo. And they produced a lot of Vampirellas and Eries and Creepies. So I have a feeling that those other ones that I was kind of curious about. So we got Vampirella number 1. And then we got Vampirella number 2. I'm just going to show you them all. I just had them all together, so I might as well show them all. Number 3, these are all they're really cool. They're really cool covers. I'm not sure if you can see that, but they're really cool. Then we got number 4. So I'm just going to show you a whole bunch. There's a whole bunch of these Vampirellas from, and as I said, they were from Garbo, which is the name of the company that had the rights to produce all the Warren magazines in Spain. And the cool thing about it was, a lot of these ones, the Vampirellas, the Creepies, Eries, they were pretty easy to get. But the ones that were really hard to find in Spain are the Famous Monsters. So it was Famous Monsters del Saint. And those ones are really hard to find. And they're very collectible, very hard to find. These ones are also considered pretty pricey. Usually a foreign edition is usually about twice as expensive as an American edition, just because they didn't produce many. They were just so rare. So they were kind of they're very sought after by collectors. You can expect them to go anywhere from $30 each to $50, and that would be for low mid grade. High grade's obviously a lot more. And then number 7. And these did come out much later than the American editions. So American edition would come out, like, let's say in late 60s for the Vampirellas and to early 70s, where these would come out like mid 70s to later 70s. So a little bit, like about 4 or 5 years delay. And then there's Vampirella number 8. And these had, like, they had the same as the American edition covers, but not in the same order. So this is number 9. Number 10. And I have the complete collection. I have all the Spanish collection as well. That's another collection I managed to complete. Number 11. This one has a bit of an off printing. It wasn't printed very clearly. You can see it's a little bit blurry. Don't adjust your screen. It's just that the comic was printed like a double print almost, and just a little bit off. So this was number 12. Some of the, like, that was one issue with some of the foreign issues of Warren. The quality control was not always the greatest. So you get that kind of weird printing errors. So this is number 13. And we got number 14. And these were the same as the American covers. But as I said, sometimes you get different interior stuff. But most often it was reprints, just in Spanish. But, you know, it was, you know, they're all black and white. But, you know, very good. Sometimes they'd have like these little color spreads. So it was always nice to see that. And, you know, they're quite pretty. Very simple. As I said, mostly the Spanish ones were very, like, from Garbo, were really just reprints of the American editions. But they were fun. They were still great covers, and there's some really amazing artwork that's, you know, reprinted, I guess. Okay, so that was my foreign Warrens. I figured I'd show you a little bit of my foreign collection. I have over 1,000 comics in my foreign collection of Warren, just to give you a sense of how many I could really show you. It's a pretty big collection. So the next question is from my good friend Kiwi, and Kiwi asked, "Great new wall. You now have a lot of Soti books. Now, Soti books are the Seduction of the Innocent, and Seduction of the Innocent is you know, a book that basically caused the Comic Code Authority. It led to the Comic Code Authority, where people read the book and were reading about how evil comics were and how they corrupted the minds of kids, and that led to hearings, and they basically said, well, you guys either got to self-regulate or we're gonna just kill comics altogether. So it was a pretty major book, and basically the Soti book, it highlighted all of the comics that this Wortham guy thought had really caused the corruption of young kids' minds. So it was, all the books that are in it are kind of like sought after by collectors. You know, it's sort of one of those things, like if you ban something, it just makes it that much more desirable for collectors. And if you look at the bottom row behind me, that's all Soti books. So I have about 120 Soti books in my collection so far, and I'm missing about 30 some odd left. There's about 30 left that I'm trying to get, and they're getting into that higher price range where they can be really, really hard to find and pay for even. So here's my question, he said. How much is your overall cost for this collection? If you don't want to answer it yet, then please add prices in the video when you've completed the Soti collection. So I'm going to actually do the following. Like, I'm actually going to do that where I show the books, tell the history behind each of the Soti books, and it might be like a 1 or 2 or 3 part series because there's just so many books in it. And I'm going to show you the entire Soti collection. I'm going to tell you how much I paid. I'm going to go through all the books, why they were mentioned in the Seduction of the Innocent, and just really break it all down and show you how you can find all these great books and put them into your collection. So I'm planning on doing that at a later video, but at least in this video, I want to give you an estimate of how much I spent. I've probably spent between 20 and 30,000 on just the 120 books that I have so far. And the real reason for that, the reason it was so expensive, was there's like a handful of books, and some of them are the ones behind me. Let me see. The Blue Beetle, the Ranger comics, the Phantom Lady. Those are all really pricey books. So the Blue Beetle, for example, that was a $4,000 book, just one book. And I also have, like, coming in the mail, Reform Schoolgirl. And that's another pricey book. That was a $3,000 book. So, these are like, right there alone, that's $7,000 just on two books. Fortunately, not all of the SOT collection are that expensive. There's some that I picked up that are $10. So it really depends on the books. And some of them are really sought after by collectors. It just happens that there's about maybe 50 in the collection, or maybe 100 in the collection, that are actually highly sought after by collectors. What other ones? There's some, pretty much all the ones behind me are the more prestigious ones in the collection. I'm actually going to change a few out as I get even better ones in the collection. So, yeah, I hope that kind of answers the question. Next was from Jerry the Jitterbug. He's, if you haven't checked out Jerry the Jitterbug in his comic collection on, not comic collection, but his video channel on YouTube, you're really missing out, because Jerry is one of the best, okay, in terms of showing how to do restoration of comics. He people that are friends with him will send him books, and he'll just basically experiment on them. He's like almost a mad scientist, where he gets to experiment on these golden age books and bring them back to life. And he does an amazing job of bringing these old books back to life. And he'll do like leaf casting, and he'll do like, general pressing and all that kind of stuff, and he'll show how to do it so you can try it out. So it's really, really great channel. I definitely recommend Jerry. I'm hoping to do a collab with him. This is me putting a little more pressure on him to collaborate with me. He's a great guy. He's a good friend too. Okay, so what he wrote was awesome books as always. Question: why do you keep so many of your slabs in their bags? Now, this is me just being paranoid. But see how my slabs are still, a lot of them are still in the bags. My fear is when I put them inside of the wall brick, the brackets that I have on the wall, that it'll scuff the case. So by having that bag, it kind of protects them. As well, even though there's no UV light, and there's no way UV light can actually get to this room. This is, if I didn't have the light on and had the door open, it'd still be it would be a very dark room, because there's just no natural light that gets into this room. But even still, I use special Mylar bags that protect against UV light. I love these comics, so I got to protect them as much as I can. So the bags act as a scuff protection, and also as a UV light protection. So, and I try to get the Mylars just because they show the case a bit better. Not all of them have been switched over to the Mylars yet. I tried to buy like enough to do it, but I realized I have way too many slabs, and I ran out of bags. So I'm in the process of maybe buying some more Mylar bags to finish the wall and have it all so that it's, looking quite sharp. So I hope that answers the question. Now, this is not a question. This next one is not a question. This is from Michael L. And Michael L., all he did, he commented on my last video where I was doing the Q&A. And he said, that's a great collection. That's all he said. That's a great collection. But the great thing about Michael L. is he is my first member. So you can actually become a member of this channel, where I'll do like extra little things. I'm going to be doing out secret spec comics, where here's a secret I'm going to tell you right now. There's a secret that most people don't realize. Like if you watch Comic Tom, or you watch like any of these spec channels, what they'll do is they'll spec on things that they either already have, or that they have lots of. So, and that's so common. Like I just see that over and over again. But what you'll notice, and when I watch Comic Tom 101, shout out to his channel, he's got a great channel too. You always see the books in behind him. Now the books in behind him are ones that not only has he spec'd on because he bought them, but those are the ones that he truly loves. And that to me is a much more concrete speculation than some random hot list that he goes on about or whatever. Because these are books that he actually values. So once I actually saw that he always had this one book always behind him, which was Invincible. And I was like, what's Invincible? I never heard of it, but I saw it on Comic Tom's wall and behind him. And I realized that, hey, I might as well check it out. Another one that he had was Goon, #1. And I was like, oh, that's another interesting looking one. And I picked those up and I fell in love with both of them. They're both great comics. And so you know what they really love because you see it behind them. It's a secret that people don't realize, that you can find out those hidden specs that most people don't talk about. But there's another form of spec that nobody talks about. Nobody ever talks about on their channels. And that is the specs that they haven't bought. The ones that they're looking out for, the ones that they are actively seeking on. Maybe there's an auction that they're watching, and those auctions, they don't want anyone else to bid on it because they know it's a really great book and they don't want people to buy it. So what they'll do is they just won't mention it. Oh, that book. Oh, and then once they get it, then it's like some spec of the week or whatever, because, that's the way it works. They don't want anyone to compete with them when they're trying to buy those cool books. So on my members channel, I'm actually going to tell you some of the things that I'm hunting that I haven't gotten yet, but I'm hunting. And if you go to my members thing, I'm going to be posting those out every week, where I'll say, okay, I'm looking for this book. This is one I really believe in. This is one I really want in my collection. And those are going to be my hot specs that I'm going to be mentioning in my members section. And, it's just me having fun. I don't expect you to always have to pay for any extra access to me, but I just think it's fun to have like a member. And I really appreciate that Michael L. joined my member thing, even though there's not much back there right now, but there will be, just because I want to give him something because he signed up for it. I just did it because I thought it was cool to, really see what you can monetize on YouTube. So I just really appreciate it. I want to say thank you for becoming a member. Okay, so extra thanks to Michael L. Okay, next one is from Comics and Beyond. Awesome comic wall. My next question is, do you collect classics illustrated as well? So one of the things that I mentioned in some of my videos is I mentioned the Seduction of the Innocent. And many of the classics illustrated were mentioned in the Seduction of the Innocent. And so I actually bought a bunch of issues from Classics Illustrated, but I don't necessarily collect it. I always saw it, actually. Whenever I would go to like a flea market, they would always have stacks of Classics Illustrated, and I didn't collect them at the time. And now I only collect those key issues that were mentioned in the Seduction of the Innocent. So I'm actually, as I've sort of bought the ones from the Soti collection, I've actually kind of liked a lot of these stories. So I might at a future date get into collecting Classics Illustrated, but it is one of those comics that is really overproduced. So low grades are actually pretty affordable. You can pick them up pretty cheaply, under $100, even though they're like 60 years old. They're easily under $100, maybe even under $20. They're really affordable because they're massively produced. It's the high grade ones that are really expensive. If you can get a Classics Illustrated in high grade and a first edition, it can be very pricey, just so you know. So these are the things you look out for. You'll see a lot of flea markets where they'll just have stacks of Classics Illustrated, and just go through them, look at the grade, and you can maybe find some really valuable ones, and look at the edition. That's the big thing. There's a trick with the Classics Illustrated that, let's say it's Classics Illustrated 10, okay? In the back of the book, it'll say, all the other issues that were in Classics Illustrated. And if it says later issues than 10, then you know it's a reprint. If they only say the issues up till 9 and it's 10, then you know it's the first print. So that's something to look for. They don't actually really tell you what the edition is, so that's a way of figuring it out. So Classics Illustrated, don't collect it yet, but do have a few key issues from the SOT collection. The next one is from Rocket Fighter 8. Thanks for answering my questions and for the room tour. So that was my last video. Last week's video, I did a room tour, like a wall tour. So you got to check that out. I'll link it in the end of this video. If you were going to the San Diego Comic-Con, do you want to go, for example, and pick one superhero and or one super villain costume you would wear? Okay. So generally, I have gone to Comic-Cons, and I do love going to Comic-Cons. I usually try to go once or twice a year. I'm in Canada, so the one that we have in Canada is the Toronto Comic-Con or Fan Fest. Fan Expo, I should say. And I do try to go to those. And they're really fun. I love watching all the sexy girls walking in cosplay. I just think it's the coolest thing. I don't dress up myself. I do not do any cosplay myself. But if I was going to do cosplay, I'm not sure what I would do. I'm not sure. I always wonder, would it be cool to do some outrageous costume, like some big thing? But probably I wouldn't. My thing is I really want to just get in and kind of go through the crowds as quickly as possible and find cool comics and talk to the artists and all that kind of stuff. So having a big kind of awkward costume would be really annoying. So I'd probably do something very simple. I'm very lazy when it comes to dressing up. When I was a kid, during Halloween, I was so lame when it came to Halloween. What I would do is I bought those teeth, with the vampire teeth, and I'd wear those. And that was my costume. I'd wear that, maybe a cape. That would be my costume. I'd say, oh, I'm a Dracula. It's really lame costumes. I really didn't spend much time dressing up for Halloween. Once I wore my judo gi because I do judo. I also, wore my ski outfit because I used to be a amateur skier. Those are the kind of things that I would do. Really lazy costumes. That was my my thing. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure if that answers your question, but you can find out how lame I am when it comes to dressing up in costumes. Okay, so the next question is Comic Mag Musings. And he has this is another great channel, Comic Mag Musings. You got to check him out. Comic Mag Musings. Okay. So we always joke, he's American, I'm Canadian. We kind of do that, that banter between Canadians and Americans. It's just silly things that we do. Okay, I have 3 questions, you crazy Canuck. What is your favorite and least favorite Frazetta cover that you have in your collection? My favorite Frazetta is Vampirella #1, and I've shown that comic way too many times, and I didn't want to bring it out again to show it again, and so that's my favorite. I just showed it way too many times. My least favorite Frazetta is, I don't know. I don't really obviously you have a favorite, but then, something is least favorite. I actually love Frazetta's artwork, so I don't really have a least favorite. I would prefer the girl, when he draws women, because I kind of like those female covers. Some of the male ones I don't like as much, but I still think are cool. I find Frazetta has a tendency of very dark, kind of very heavy looking art. And I think he's got that atmospheric kind of style. I love his work, so I can't really say there's a least favorite. It sounds like, when you have 2 children, you say, well, you're my favorite child and you're my least favorite child. It's it's a little bit brutal. I'm not that way with Frazetta. I love his artwork, so I can't really say I have a least favorite. And do you have any Fazetta's famous funny issues? No, I don't. I have actually looked at those and kind of maybe bid on a few of them, but never won. Um, I actually know the run that he did. He had a very short run within Famous Funnies that were really cool. They were like these kind of sci-fi, kind of a little bit of horror comic covers, just really cool. Um, and I didn't pick any up. I actually like Famous Funnies. I'm actually looking for. I have a want list, and a bunch of Famous Funnies are on that want list. So, and those include the Frazetta ones. So, but I actually don't have any Famous Funnies in my collection. But that will change. That will change. Um, and the last one is his humor. Why am I cursed with these Hollywood handsome looks? Good looks. You can check out his channel and tell him, is he handsome and good looking? So I'm going to leave that to my audience to decide. But he's a great guy. Definitely check him out. He's worthy of checking out. And then we got Carnival Hands. Can you give some details of how your collection is insured? Actually, I have kind of a weird story about comics and insurance. So my home, this is a pretty expensive house, and it has it's like a full house insurance where everything in the house is insured in theory. And with that said, I actually feel like I should get additional insurance just for the comics. And that's more of a recent thing where I wasn't really sure if I should go about doing that. But now I really do feel like, especially with the way the prices have gone up, like this comic collection has quadrupled in value in the last couple of years just because of the crazy, crazy comic market. And because of that, I feel that it is necessary for me to look into getting insurance. But right now, I don't have any insurance for my comics. But what happened was in the past, last year, I had something really tragic happen. I was just moving into this new house, and we were building this room that I'm in right now. We were building it where we were putting all the shelving units in, and it was just like taking months and months and months to get this room finished. And I had left all my comics outside in my basement, like in the main area of my basement. And basically, what happened was my wife, that area where the comics were, was right below the kitchen that was above it, one floor up. And my wife, she was making like kimchi. She's Korean, so she was making kimchi. Typical Korean thing to do. It's like kimchi and Koreans, you gotta learn that culture. They really love their kimchi. So she's making kimchi in the sink, and she fills up the sink to wash all these cabbages. And when she drained the sink, it was just so much water all at once that came down the drain that it actually leaked. It splashed down into the basement. And my comics were right there. And it just drenched my comics. So 2 long boxes were just completely drenched with water. I, ran down, tried to save as many of them as I could, but most of them were severely water damaged. And I thought, oh my goodness, and they were all I was actually fortunate. There was I had a whole bunch of boxes, and it was only the 2, and they were kind of my cheaper comics. I was sort of lucky in that respect. There was a lot of my cheaper comics. I was like, oh, thank goodness it wasn't my really, really pricey ones, but I was devastated. These were comics that I collected when I was in university, and it was my complete collection of Malibu comics, which are not expensive. You can look them up on eBay. They're not super expensive. But to replace them, especially in Canada, if I had to buy them and replace them all, it would have been brutal because shipping and all that kind of stuff would have just killed me. So I was like, oh man, what am I going to do? Will the insurance even cover it? Because it's just like comics and they don't know how much they're worth. So what they did was the insurance company did, in fact, treat me extremely well. I'd never had a claim in 20 years, so they knew that I was being honest when I said, hey, my comics are mangled. And, it was due to a flaw in the house, not really my wife's fault. It was the drain thing was not done correctly. And so what happened was the insurance company basically said, "Hey, we'll give you $11 per comic," which was great. So I ended up getting a few $1,000s, and I used the money to buy more comics, basically, and it was great. It really worked out. That's really my insurance situation right now, but I am hoping to upgrade my insurance and get, like, I'm actually working on cataloging my entire collection so that I know the fair market value for them, and then I will make an insurance policy to basically protect my comics. So that is something that I'm working on. It's taken me a while to actually create that database of my entire collection. So that is something I'm definitely working on, though. But I definitely recommend have insurance, because you never know what can happen. You never know. Your wife can be making kimchi and there goes your comic collection. Okay, so the next one is Hammer 3 Collectibles. And he asked, if you won the lottery, which Grails would you upgrade and get? I've actually gotten most of my Grails, and upgrade, I would debate about a few of them. Like the definite one that I'd really want to upgrade would be my X-Men #1. I would love to get that in high grade. My X-Men #1 is, where is it? I can't even see it. Okay, it's right there. I had to look for it. My X-Men #1, I don't know, right somewhere in there. Right. I'm trying to point to it. Okay, that's me pointing to my X-Men #1. My X-Men #1 is really crappy. It's just, it's like an ugly, ugly comic. I'm going to show it to you. I have to show it to you. It's just so ugly that I have to show you my ugly, ugly X-Men #1. So I'm going to show it to you. So this is my X-Men #1. And it is ugly. You guys, it's just like so mangled. You can see how it's mangled. It's a 0.5 because it's so ugly. It's not a 0.5 because it's incomplete. It's a 0.5 because it's ugly. Okay? It says like cover and center wraps detached. Okay? So just, it's barely staying alive. It is a really rough comic. I like it though. I actually like it. It's gone up a lot since I bought it. And actually, I think if I got it a little bit cleaned, it could probably get that 1 grade because it is complete. So I think that's kind of, yeah, one that I'd love to upgrade. But you're probably wondering, what comics would I want to add to my collection? Well, those comics would be Marvel Family #1. I'd also love to get, if I had like millions of dollars to play with, I would love to get some Golden Age, like the whole EC Golden Age horror collection. I'd love to get that. And I would love to get like the complete collection of All-Star comics, like 1, 2, 3, all the way up. And I'd probably finish off my Golden Age Wonder Woman collection. And I'd also finish off my SOTI collection. I'd just buy all the big books. And there's a bunch of other ones that I'd want to get. If it's millions of dollars, then I would buy definitely Detective Comics 27, Action Comics #1, Batman #1. That's, to me, actually, of those three, Batman #1, even though it's not as expensive, is the book I really, really want in my collection, because it's the first appearance of Catwoman and the Joker. My favorite villain and my favorite bad girl, Catwoman. I love Catwoman. So those would be the books that I'd want to get into my collection, my dream collection kind of thing. I'd also like to get Pep 22, Pep Comics #22, which is the first Archie. I love getting those first appearances. So that'd be another one I'd look for. Another question is from KXM. And KXM asked, cool first comic story. Why not get it slabbed? So my first comic, which is Howard the Duck, I didn't get slabbed. And the reason I didn't get it slabbed was it's like a $10 comic in my mind, because that's how much I paid for it. It probably would be it's still worth less than the slabbing. So I just don't feel like it's worthy of slabbing. I don't know why. And it's kind of nice to have it raw. So I'm a bit iffy on it. Maybe sometime later, if Howard the Duck ever becomes super popular, then it maybe become worthwhile getting a slab. But for now, I'll leave it raw. Okay, so the next one is from John Gabriel. And this is the last question. I read a quote a few years ago which said that comics were more accepted in Asian cultures because of their alphabets were based on pictograms. What do you think that there is any truth to that theory? So the idea is, if you look at most Asian cultures, not most, but Chinese-based Asian cultures like Korea, Japan, and China, and maybe some of those southeastern countries as well, kind of have that Chinese influence. Like my wife would hate me saying that Korea was influenced by China, but it is. A lot of their language is based off of Chinese characters. So, but their written language is actually in Hangul, and that's a written like alphabet that they use. And same in Japan, they use an alphabet. But they do have that Chinese character roots, that historical roots. So I think that does encourage some like acceptance of pictures as a form of reading. I don't know, where they do have like an affinity for comics. You'll notice like if you read manga and you compare it to like comics, they actually will have a lot less writing inside the comic, and you'll see much more like action words, like and like sort of sounds is more, and they'll have more panels to show some action sequence. So it's kind of interesting that they'll really break down that action sequence where it might appear on multiple pages instead of just one page with a cool battle scene. So there might be some truth to it. I don't really know. I know a lot of Asian cultures, they read manga like it's like reading a book. It's just something that they read a lot. The cool thing was when I was in Korea, this is going back a long time because I lived in Korea from 1996 to 1999. And that's when video stores were still around. So that gives you a sense of the time period. You could actually go to what they were called they were like little bookstores, okay? And these little bookstores would basically have manga that you could rent, and it maybe cost you like 50 cents, and you could rent a whole bunch for 50 cents, and you read them, and then you return them the next day and get some more. And it was a really cool system. Like I've never seen that where you could rent manga. It was just really interesting to see that. I only saw that when I was in Korea, so I thought that was kind of interesting that they had that, and it was much different the way that they saw comics compared to the way we see comics. There it was just something you read, and they would like kind of mangle the books a bit. They were really treated roughly, but the mangas are pretty solid, so they would last. But yeah, they didn't see it as something to collect the way we do. Like we really try to be really careful with our comics, and we read them very carefully. There they just saw them as something to read and then almost not throw away, but just return. It was just a very different way of thinking. So maybe it's because of that pictogram element to their language, but I'm not sure. It was just a very different culture. So that has been my Q&A for this week. I'm now going to do the secret special unboxing that I've been saying would be at the end of the video. That will happen now. But if you want to be in the next video where I answer your question, please comment below, and I will definitely add your question to the list of questions. So here is the unboxing. We got the unboxing here, and this is from my comic shop. They actually changed their boxes, so it's kind of interesting to see these new boxes. See if I can open it up a little awkward to open. One sec here. I thought it would be really easy to open, but it turns out it's not. Okay, so, all right, so this, I dump it on the floor. Okay, so this is just a quick unboxing. There is a lot of comics in here, but I figured since the poll showed that people want to see unboxings, every video now is going to be an unboxing video. No, it's joking. No, I just figured, just as a bonus, unboxing here for you. Okay, so let's see. There's a bunch of comics in here. So the first one is a modern comic, and this is Annie Bonny, and it's just like a female pirate kind of comic. It was one that was mentioned by Comic Tom, and I thought maybe interesting. It had kind of a cool cover. Thought I would check it out. So I got issue number 1. That's it. I didn't buy the whole series or anything, and I just thought maybe it would be interesting. The next one is Amazing Spider-Man number 340. And this one has a bunch of characters that get introduced. So it mentions the femme fatales, which are the girls on the cover, and some of them include Mind Blast and Knockout. So these are just some female villains that might be kind of cool. I just thought, when I saw it, I thought, hey, why not? Kind of cool comic. These are all cheap. Like, these are all really affordable comics, like $2 to $3 range. They're not expensive. The next one that I got is a little bit more pricey, actually. This is Marvel Age number 1. I've gotten a bunch of Marvel Age, and I thought, why not have the number 1 from the series? Marvel Age was kind of interesting because it would introduce a lot of new characters or, stuff for Marvel. So it's kind of cool. And they would have like stories from the artists and stuff like that. It was just a cool comic. So this is Marvel Age number 1. Just kind of a cool one. Another series that I thought I've heard so many people saying good things about it, and I actually bought the entire series, was this one, Letter 44. Letter 44 is what happens when you become the president of the United States. You get this document. It's called Letter 44. And it basically is the secrets, all the secrets that the previous government knows about, and that that have been hidden from the American people. And, basically when he opens up this Letter 44, he finds out that there's aliens and they're living basically in an asteroid belt. And, they're going to, who knows what's going to happen. So that's the story. That's the setup for it. It's kind of cool. I thought it was one of these series that I have to check out. I still have yet to read it, but I've heard amazing things about it. So Letter 44. I actually heard that it might be actually optioned too, so it might be a good spec. And then this is number 3. You'll see a lot of Letter 44s in here. So number 3, and I'll actually finish them off here. There's number 2. Number 8, it's not in order. It's like all over the place. And then we got number 4. So you see a lot of space-related stuff on these. And then number 5. Yeah, number 5. Kind of cool. And number 7. And number 6. And I think, is that everything? Yeah, I think that's all of them. Okay, that's all of them from Letter 44. And then I got some other ones. So I'm a big fan of Vampirella. So I got the more recent series. This is like the 2017 series, just number 1. And I got the 0. I just actually really like this cover. And then I got a really cool comic. This is actually kind of a cool comic. He's Lois Lane kind of kissing everybody, and then Superman's picture is in the background. She's kissing all the superheroes. So kind of a very interesting innuendo cover. And it's one that is actually the first Silver Age crossover with Green Lantern, or Green Arrow, I should say. Green Arrow, Aquaman, and Batman. So this is actually the first time that they appear in the Silver Age together. So kind of interesting. Extra bonus spec in there, or first appearance-y kind of thing. Another one that's kind of cool is this one. Avengers 62, which is the first appearance of Manape. Now, Manape appeared in the last Black Panther movie, and Manape was the guy that basically, when they kind of ran away from their kingdom, they went to this guy's kingdom, and he's kind of like the other warlord that kind of runs Wakanda. He's one of the, I think it's 7 kingdoms, I believe. He's one of the kings of those 7 kingdoms. I think it's 7 kingdoms. You can correct me if I'm wrong. It's like multiple kingdoms, I know that. So, then we got, this one's really cool. I actually got this for a reasonable price too. It's like $100, which sounds expensive, but it's actually a really good price. This is JoJo Congo King. And it's just a really great Matt Baker cover. I believe it's Matt Baker, pretty sure. And it's just a really great Good Girl art cover. I love these JoJo ones. They're quite popular now. It seems like they're getting more and more pricey. Just a really great cover. You can see, I don't know, just a really great cover. Okay. Then we got West Coast Avengers number 55. Now, this is the first appearance of the Dark Scarlet Witch. Now, this book has a lot of potential. This is a good spec book. If you're going to look for a spec book, this would be a good one. West Coast Avengers was a dollar bin kind of series for the longest time. And then we got the White Vision in it. We got a bunch of key issues that were in this run now. And these are heating up. So this is the first appearance of the Dark Scarlet Witch, where she's kind of got the new costume. And that has a high potential of appearing because there's a lot of rumors circulating that Scarlet Witch will be the next bad guy in the, phase 5. So this is a really high potential spec. At the end of WandaVision, she was basically reading the Darkhold, and she was, learning the baddie stuff, and maybe gets corrupted. And she was already kind of evil with the way she treated that town. So there is a lot of potential for the Dark Scarlet Witch. Okay, then we got Marvel Age number 2. So I figured I'd get the first couple issues from the series. And this is just it's another one of those ones where it's preview of Alpha Flight. So it's kind of cool. Okay, and then we got Vampirella number 3. So this is the third book in the Vampirella series. I just really like these cosplay covers. It's quite nice. I just thought this was quite cute. And finally, last one in the collection that I bought is Marvel Fanfare number 24. And this one is the first meeting of Carol Danvers and Monica Rambeau. So this is kind of a key that is a little bit under the radar. So a lot of the Marvel Age and Marvel Fanfares had these kind of first appearances or first kind of interesting things. So this is the first crossover between Carol Danvers and Monica Rambeau. And it's also, if you're interested in ElfQuest, it has ElfQuest as well. So a little bit of everything. Okay, so that is my comic unboxing plus Q&A video. I hope you enjoyed. I hope this is a really long video. Stay tuned till next week where I answer this week's questions. So if you post below, I will answer your questions next week. So thanks again for watching. Again, I really appreciate it. Please check me out on Instagram, and please like, subscribe, and all that kind of stuff. And check out my community channel because I'm posting out some stuff there as well. So definitely check that out. And thanks again. Bye.